wanted me to come out and go over, I'm the Eagle Board Chairman for the district. So we have Mike Cason helps out with the Eagle Boards. Corey helps out with the Eagle Boards, Gary does, Jay jumps on once in a while. So it's just a group and see who all can make it. So we just wanted to go over the process a little bit with everybody, just so they understand. It's nothing hard. If you have Gary and I's email addresses are on the back and Corey's. If there's ever a question, you can always let us know. But just to go down through the process, that's what this sort of flow chart is on the front side. If you download the workbook and start working through it, it'll sort of give you a path. You have to develop the project, contact Eagle Board with any questions, get your signatures, and schedule the project review. We have a lot of kids that'll just send us a random email. They'll just say, "Hey, I'm ready for my Eagle project," and we have no, like, what's your project? What are the pictures? Anything like that. So I just want to let everybody know it's important if they take some time and step back and develop it. Have some pictures. If you're going to build like a refurbish a pavilion, let's say, like take some pictures of what the pavilion looks like right now, so that we can see, because we're obviously meeting remote, whether we meet in person or not. We're going to probably meet remote, so it helps us visualize what your project is. So we're looking for something. There's not really like a level of what you have to do, but we're looking for something that's a little bit impactful. So if you just said, "Hey, I'm going to paint this room in the church," and that's the extent of it, we're probably going to ask you to build on that a little bit. For the most part, I'd say most of our presentations that the kids do are pretty well. Some of them we get a handwritten workbook, and it lacks a little bit of detail, it lacks pictures, it lacks sentence structure, and capitalization, and a lot of things. So I would say that do this like you would if you were doing a project for school, like a benchmark for school. Put some effort into it to make it presentable. So once you go through the board, we look at everything, we approve it. Then you start to go back through your fundraising guide. In your package, there's a fundraising guide that explains how the fundraising works. Again, you can communicate with the committee, anything you need. If you need us to come out and look at something, if you need help with something. We've all been around for a long time, so we're a good resource, even if it's something like you need to know, like, "Hey, I can't find somebody that cuts rough cut lumber or something." Well, maybe we know somebody that can cut rough cut lumber for you. So we're there as a resource to help you. So just keep communicating with us, and then once you have it all put together, you know when your work days are going to be, you know when your fundraisers are going to be if you're going to do fundraisers. Communicate that with the board, because we'd like to come around to see the project as it unfolds, what the work days you're working on, the fundraisers. We all eat hoagies too, so if you're selling hoagies, don't be afraid to ask us if we want to buy a hoagie. And so then when you have it all wrapped together, your beneficiary and stuff has to sign off on it. Make sure you have all your signatures, everything, and then you can submit it in for approval. So the flow chart has beneficiary final approval for project assigned work for. Then you just complete your Eagle application, send it into council. So once it comes back from council, then we know we're ready to sit and talk. Okay. So we usually like to come out and see every project when it's happening. I don't necessarily make it out. Corey and Gary and Jay and them are good about stopping around and taking a look at things. But pictures, in today's world, everybody can take pictures on their phone. They can upload it very easily into you have to send us separate attachments with a couple pictures and then your workbook on it separately. There's no reason why you shouldn't be able to put something together. I've had some kids that do like a PowerPoint presentation where we'll take parts of the workbook and they'll incorporate that into pictures. So they'll actually take a page out of the workbook and scan it and then put the pictures alongside, which really makes it nice. And it actually makes it easier for the scout too, because when he's presenting the project to us, he can work through the PowerPoint presentation, so it sort of helps make it easier for him to come up with the words and things like that. So that's the story on the projects. Like I said, if you have any questions, just like Gary or I know, our email address and phone numbers are on the back. I would probably rather have you, communicate through email and just copy, you know, your, if it's a scout communicating, which it should be, they should be communicating with at least 2 adults. So either a parent needs to be on that or put Gary and I or Jay, or Gary or Jay and I, whatever. So that we keep that at 2 days. Okay? Questions?
Can you go over the fundraising?
Oh, yeah, there's a fundraising application. I don't know if he has any notes or anything on here. So there's a, in the packet, there's an application that gives you the guidelines on how you handle the fundraising. And one of the, couple of the points in the fundraising is that you should probably have it go to the sponsoring organization, whoever you're doing the project for. So like if you're doing a project for your church, it'd be nice if you had the donations made out to the church and then the church dispense them back to you, or to your troop and then the troop dispense them back to you, instead of having it go to Tom Jones Boy Scout and then all of a sudden he ends up with $1,500. It just keeps it cleaner that way. And then there's guidelines in there on what you can and can't do. If you have any questions on the fundraising, then ask us. There's not a requirement that you have to fundraise, but if you fundraise, you have to do it the correct way. Okay.
I want to mention to the kids that fundraising agreement is not in the proposal section, it's in the planning section. Because a lot of kids, I tell them, you need your fundraising agreement. Well, there's nothing in the proposal about that. Yeah, keep looking.
Yeah, that's a good point. And the other thing that we do like to mention, there's that guide to safe scouting that has it there. So a lot of times these kids will come and say, okay, so we're gonna use a chainsaw to cut the timbers, and we're gonna use a power saw to do this. So what you have to do is you have to reference back to the guide to safe scouting, and there's a chart in there, and it'll tell you like a Boy Scout age is allowed to do this, 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 and this. And there's certain things like power tools, chainsaws, things like that a scout can't operate. So when you're planning your Eagle Scout project, you're gonna have to plan around the fact that if you need that tool to be used, then you're gonna have to, plan your project around what adult you're gonna have do that, use that tool. So the last thing we wanna have happen is have a scout get hurt because he's out doing an Eagle project. So that's a couple of
As a project provider, somebody had joked about the supply chain, and I know some of the scouts will be on a tight timeline, and say you want to do a bronze memorial plaque, but there's a backlog and they can't get it done. Can you substitute a simple interpretive panel until that so if something's delayed and it won't get there till the scout's 18th birthday, after the 18th birthday, if they have a substitute to hold the place until.
Yeah, as long as we have some communication with the scouts, we've had a couple instances that are sort of like that, where they had interpretive plaques on order and they weren't gonna be in time, but they had, they sent us all the correspondence and stuff was coming, they had everything else done to mount them. So yeah, we can make some sort of adjustments for that.
Because there are still supply chain.
Yeah, there definitely are. We even had we had a project where a kid had a really aggressive project, and he was gonna build several items, and then it just ended up being, with everything that was going on during COVID and stuff, that he couldn't get everybody out and the materials that he needed and everything. So we ended up scaling it back. It was still a bigger project than a lot of the kids do, but it was probably half of a project of what he intended to. So we met and talked to him about it, went out and looked at what he was still planning, and felt it was still a worthy project. So it's all about communication, like anything.
Donation letters?
Yeah, the donation letters. So if you're gonna send out donation letters, again, just have those coming back to the troop, or the whatever the beneficiary organization is.
And we need a list of who you're gonna send those donation letters out to, so it can get cleared through the council office, so that we're not double dipping with people that are doing other donations and things like that. We don't wanna go to the well too many times. And so that's why, that's part of that fundraising application, where you're gonna get the money, how you're gonna raise it, that sort of thing. So we need to know who you're gonna be asking, for the funds.
And then the process for scheduling the project review or the board review is through the email. And we're probably gonna transition back into an in-person, but we've been having a tendency of meeting Thursday nights. There's no rhyme or reason as to what night we meet, but we try to wait till we have a couple scouts and we set up a Thursday night. It doesn't mean we've done them 3 Thursday nights in a row. We've done 1 Thursday night here, 1 Thursday night a month later, so it's based on demand. So if we have kids that need project reviewed or board reviews done, you know, we work them in. So we're not set up for one night and one night only or anything like that. I would just stress to the scouts to communicate again, like it's something at work or something at school, that it's not like texting your buddy or emailing your buddy. Some of the email correspondence we get, you know, we want to try to keep it on a professional level kind of stuff. So, you know, again, you know, Mr. Somebody or hello or, you know, like.
No text speed.
Yeah, some of the stuff gets a little, some of it is quite honestly, it's hard to even understand. Like we have to email back and say, could you explain what you're looking for? Because some of the kids were not sure if they're ready for a project or if they have a question, because we don't get any paperwork with them. Seems like the scanning is the only other thing that's a little bit of a challenge. For whatever reason, I deal with PDFs every day at work, but for some reason when the scout sends me a PDF, I have the hardest time getting them to open. So they seem like they're password protected for whatever reason. So sometimes Jay or Corey will be able to open it and I can't. It's just really strange. So if you have a way, like the Google Docs or something seems to be a challenge for whatever reason, whatever software we're using at work is a little different. So sometimes we have to look through that a little bit. So I know, any other questions, comments?
Just a question.
Yeah.
Several guys from the commissioners, I usually refer to Gary as
Oh, that's fine.
do they can start the project before they've completed all the merit badges?
Oh, yeah.
As long as they're.
As long as they finish their life rank, they can start their project anytime after that.
Now, if they're concerned, and this is the second part of that question, if they're concerned, like with supply chain issues, can they submit for a time extension beyond their 85th birthday? When would they do that?
There are time extensions available. They're seldom, but if there's a compelling reason why they can't complete it, there's a process. It comes to the district. If the scout can then appeal it to the council. If they don't like that answer, they can appeal to national. But yeah, I mean, I think they've used the word communication a lot, and I think that if the scout is communicating with us, that's going to be the key to any issues. Is let's talk about them before they become issues. You know, if the scout's finding that the bronze plaque is going to take 6 months instead of 6 weeks, we need to talk about that when the scout finds out, not the day before the 18th birthday. As we talk about the 18th birthday, the other thing that I would say is that for some people, they rub close to the deadline. And the deadline is that you need to have your completed Eagle application. And I would suggest emailing that to the council office, because the nice thing about an email is you've got a time and date stamp on that, so that there's no question when that was emailed. And that's when the clock stops, is when you email your Eagle application to the council office. It then gets processed through the council office, sent back. We then schedule your board of review. Your board review can take place after your 18th birthday, but the Eagle application has to be in to the council office on your 18th birthday. It can be the day of your 18th birthday. I'm sorry? Oh, yeah. Yes, it's not uncommon, unfortunately.
Or you can drive it to the council office.
Yeah.
I've done that before.
If there's a project that you're thinking about that you're not sure about, talk to us. You know, we're open to you know, an informal discussion on a project, and we, you know, if it's something that's sort of a different sort of thing, you know, maybe you wanna talk to us and just sort of get a feeling for where we're thinking, what you're thinking, and go from there. So, again, communication. I think that between Corey and Dave and myself, I think that we're pretty open to working with scouts, and we want you to get your Eagle, we want you to earn your Eagle, and we will do most anything to help you with that process. Questions, gentlemen? You're sitting there, you're looking pretty 18-ish, and so, no, what are you guys thinking about for projects?
I'm thinking about like building a shed out at our campsite at the moment. We have a little foundation at our campsite, and normally we just put up like a canopy or something over it when we camp out. So I've been thinking of building like a wooden shed over top.
This is out of Camp Anderson.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, because keep in mind that a project cannot benefit scouting. It has to benefit the community, the church, the Camp Anderson.
Yeah.
Yeah. Gentlemen, you have any thoughts on yours?
I'm not too sure yet.
Okay. You know, talk to the people at, Fort Roberdale. You know, talk to the people at, Canoe Creek State Park. You know, there's, if you live here in Altoona, you know, Baker Mansion, all those places, talk to your church. There's oodles of things that need to be done, and, they would make wonderful projects. Right, here's the gentleman, you know, tonight maybe be a time to sort of establish a contact. Anybody else have projects you're thinking about or anything? No?
Just think of something that, you know, you can develop and show leadership through the project. That's one of the goals that we're looking for. We don't really care, you know, to a certain extent how big it is. It doesn't have to be grandiose. We just want something that you can demonstrate leadership and have a little bit of an impact with something.
I think that's the one word that you brought up, is an impact. So whether it's, you know, at your church, whether it's in your town, you know, there's different things that you might be able to make a difference. You know, there was one project that I got to sit in on. It was like, wow, it was not something that I was familiar with, but it had a great impact at their school. So can you guys share a couple, not to say that you're giving them all the ideas, but
Like projects?
yeah, just different projects that.
The
I'll
Beehive.
tell you, one of my favorite ones is, as you're coming into Altoona on 17th Street, there in front of U-Haul, there's a Welcome to Altoona sign that was an Eagle project.
Really?
Yeah, that's an Eagle project.
Beautiful.
Yeah, one scout did the beehives and stuff up at the Regal Scout Sportsman's Club. They put a fence up and got the hives and got the bees.
And he didn't know anything about bees.
Didn't know anything about
Wow.
bees.
Yeah.
Put that all together. There was Holliesburg school they redid for like the
They did
drum-
an outdoor learning center, is that one you're
well,
talking
the
about?
drama club.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the drama
Yeah.
club.
Yeah, they redid a
Yeah.
storage room for drama club.
Drama club. We've go-go pits. We've done a couple of go-go pits that
Community gardens.
community gardens.
Yeah.
Yeah, where they did the like a church or somebody. I think it might have been.
First Presbyterian.
Yeah, First Presbyterian did it, but then there was another scout that did them at someone had a piece of ground and they went in and cleaned it all up and put in to make a community, vegetable garden, that someone could reserve that plot, and they could come in and plant stuff if they couldn't plant it at their house. So we've had, quite a few interesting ones lately.
You had Mr. Theater, you have that John Kennedy statue there, Union Avenue.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That was an equal project.
Yeah, the refurbishment of that was.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah, a couple down at Canoe Creek, where the theater area is up at the education building. Someone put like a new roof on the projector thing and put new seats on the, sort of like a little bit of an amphitheater type effect there where you can get down and watch movies outside at the education center.
At the Children's Museum, they did a sand table. And what the kids that come into the museum do is they can make it look like a volcano, and then the projector provides color and makes it look like a volcano. Or you make it flat and it looks like a plane or a lake and different things like that.
Yeah, they built a box, a projector stand, and got the software.
Yeah. So I mean, it's really sort of a follow your heart, what you're interested in. I don't know, out of Roberdeau, another Eagle project that was done a while ago is they built some native structures, some homes.
Wigwams out of
Yeah.
fiberglass. And I think, I'm sorry, I forgot your name.
Gary.
Gary just hit the nail on the head. Like, follow your heart, what you're interested in. We're fortunate at the fort, we have history. We also have outdoor recreation trail work that can be done. And then we have conservation work like the beehives, pollinator garden. And the cool thing at the fort, we have volunteers that are experts in old fashioned. Like, so if you anybody likes woodworking and you wouldn't have to use chainsaws, you could use hand tools to, we put benches so when older people come, they can sit down on these benches, and the benches would look what they looked like in the fort back in 1778. So you can do with hand tools. We like to honor veterans at the fort, and we're talking about replacing a flagpole and listing our veterans, those type of things. So down at Fort Roberdeau, we got history, we got conservation, and we got recreation. So I encourage you to come down and see the site and visit with us. And our phone number is on the back of the brochures. So the phone number is on the back of this one. Excuse me. So on the back of this brochure is our phone number. You're welcome to call us. And just ask for Director Nelson, and we'll schedule an appointment for you to come down to visit. Thank you, Gary.
Anything else, gentlemen, that you have questions about? Anything that we can answer? The process, anything? Thanks. Oh, yeah.
How do I get that workbook?
Scouting.org. Just do a Google search for Eagle Scout Service Project workbook, and it comes up. And please don't go to any of the secondary sites, such as US Scouting or anything like that, because Scouting.org will always get you the most current version of it. And you go to some of the secondary sites, you sometimes catch older versions and stuff. So go to Scouting.org. Okay. Anybody else have other comments that the Scoutmasters that have gone through it, any insights that you can share to the people?
One of the things that Dave said, I found out almost amazing, that you guys got papers with terrible grammar, one sentences, whatever.
Oh.
So when they do the book, when they download that book, they have to fill it out and take it to their unit leader, and they must do it as a committee. That's how you fix this stuff before you guys have it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it's a dry run, you don't wanna go apply for a job without looking in front of a mirror, and it's basically what you're doing. It's for what you're gonna do growing up.
So go to your committee, when you go to your committee for their signature, do a dry run. Talk to them, so that when you go before Dave and Gary and, Corey, you know exactly, you fixed all the answers, you have the questions.
Okay. Thanks for coming out tonight. Parents have any other questions or anything? No? Okay.